Hello, my name is Tamara Harris, and I'm here to talk about my year of yes. In 2016, Shonda Rhimes gave a TED Talk about the year she decided to say yes to everything that scared her and the transformative impact it had on her life. Fast forward to 2017, when a record number of women of color ran for office at the local, state, and federal level. In August 2017, I added my name to that list when I announced my candidacy for Congress in my district in New Jersey. At the time, I believed that my district was open to a change, and it was also open to new leadership. And I remember telling people that I expected the 22-year incumbent to retire from office, and people looking at me like I was crazy. At the time, running for Congress felt literally like the scariest thing I'd ever done in my life. And I can only compare it to that feeling you have when you're sitting at the platform on a roller coaster about to take the scariest ride of your life. Well, take that feeling that you have in the pit of your stomach, if you've ever had that experience, and multiply it times 1,000, and that was me. But one of the most powerful things that you learn when running for office is that you have to tell your story, because every day you're asking people who have never met you, who don't know anything about you, for their yes. You're asking them to vote for you personally, and that is the most precious thing that they have. So you better be able to speak to their fears as to why they should believe that you understand what life is like for them. So as a first-time candidate, I had to tell my story a lot. And the story that I told was that of being a 17-year-old girl who took a 6-hour train ride to the city of Pittsburgh, sight unseen, to visit and attend the University of Pittsburgh, and unaccompanied by my mother, who couldn't afford a train ticket because she didn't have the resources to take me to college. And what I learned is that story of fear is a story that's similar for so many in this country. But what I also realized is that my year of yes in 1984 led to other more powerful journeys, resulting in a career in international finance, a 10-year residency in Asia, and learning how to speak Mandarin. After that journey concluded, a subsequent year of yes allowed me to build a career in helping victims of abuse and other trauma find their voice and turn their power on and increase their ability to say yes. As the mother of 2 daughters, I now truly understand that dream that my mother held for me, along with her hopes, her fears, and her tears, when she conquered her fear and said yes, and she purchased that ticket, that one-way train ticket, settled her daughter in her seat, and stood on that platform in Philadelphia and waved goodbye. In the 35 years since that fateful day I said yes to my college journey, one of the scariest in my life, I have learned so much about international finance, economics, employment, education, mental health, housing, social justice, the child welfare system, and many other systems that affect our communities of color every single day. I was never a woman who stood on the sidelines politically, but I had firmly anchored myself in the background. However, in 2017, I felt compelled to move into the front line in order to ensure that the foundations that so many people of color had fought for so long in this country continued, so that our next generation could make their way from poverty to prosperity, achieve their dreams, and make valuable contributions to our society. So I'm here to talk to you today for all of you in this room who are contemplating running for office or doing something so incredible for yourself, your children, your family, your community, and even your country. And how do you actually move through that level of fear that Shonda Rhimes talked about and speak strength and truth to it so that you can get to that yes and accomplish your dreams? Well, one of my favorite quotes encapsulates my thinking at that time when I was making that decision to run for Congress. And that quote says, "Be so committed to your growth that you are willing to say no without guilt and yes without fear." And one of the things that I realized was that in order to be without fear and say yes without fear, I needed to ask myself the following 5 questions. The first question was, did I have the capacity, both personally and professionally, to do something this incredible and this daunting? I had my faith in God, I had my family, and I had some incredibly supportive friends, and I had long discussions with my daughters who were so excited to see their mother rise up in advocacy for their community. The second question was, what was my community? Did I know who I was going to call at 1 a.m. when it felt like the world was falling apart? Did I know who the friends and associates and other stakeholders were in my community who could open doors for me and give me strategic advice? And it turns out I did know that community, and during my campaign, they were invaluable. The third question I asked myself was, did I have conviction? Would I be willing to publicly take a stand for people in deep distress in my community? Was I prepared to take on the status quo? Because one thing was very clear from my beginnings, I was not going to be the status quo candidate. I had built a career leading others in successfully navigating high conflict, protracted transition and trauma. So in my mind, I had been there and done that, so I checked off that box. My other 2 questions were, what was my credibility, and did I have that? And did I have a track record of advocacy where my words and actions aligned? And were there people who could vouch for me when I was not in the room? And the last question I asked myself, which is, I think, the biggest question for so many of us women of color as we contemplate running for office, for political office, is, did I have the currency? And I know for many of us in the room, the hardest part for us is raising that money and finding those finances. And many days it felt like there would never be enough money to be successful. And sometimes there isn't. But I do believe for women of color contemplating running for office, times are different, and many organizations have emerged to help us with campaign budgets and thinking about how we can strategize to be successful in a political campaign. There have been numerous studies that report that women of color believe we have to be over-prepared, over-qualified, and over-credentialed to be able to pursue anything we believe is challenging, such as that coveted promotion, starting our own business, or running for city council, mayor, governor, congresswoman, and yes, president. Asking myself those crucial questions helped me to allay all the fears that prevented me from getting to that yes, because it was something I felt compelled to do, even though it was incredibly daunting. So what ended up happening in my year of yes? Well, in January 2018, the 22-year incumbent announced his retirement from Congress. And as a first-time candidate in our June primary in 2018, I obtained 14% of the total vote in my party's primary. And in the least diverse county in my district, I obtained 45% of the vote. I need you to understand that when you show up to a year of yes, women of color have impact in the most unexpected places. And in October of 2018, I became the executive director of the court-appointed Special Advocates for Children of Essex County, where we advocate for children and teens who have been removed from their homes and placed in foster care. And I know that that level of advocacy and that level of impact would have never happened if I hadn't said yes to my political candidacy. So I leave you with these thoughts. When committing to your personal year of yes, especially if you're contemplating running for office, you must never, ever forget that every generation of women of color, we have always been transactors in transformation, and we have always been trailblazers. We have always understood the power of the ballot and the long-term impact that policies, both good and adverse, have on our children, our partners, our businesses, and our communities. We have inherited a legacy of survival under the most traumatic circumstances and have the capability and capacity to pursue anything our hearts and minds compel us to pursue, no matter how scared you may feel. And at the end of the day, the only thing you really need to remember when you commit to a year of yes, without fear, for the people, the community, and the country that you love, is that you are truly enough. Prepare to be scared, take that leap of faith, but whatever capacity you choose for political advocacy and service, be willing to commit to your year of yes, because we need women of color now in this country more than ever. Thank you.